The book of Numbers 14, verse 22 says, "None of these people will live to enter that land. They have seen the dazzling light of my presence and the miracles that I performed in Egypt and in the wilderness, but they have tried my patience over and over again and have refused to obey me." With this, I will say, you know, sometimes ago, I met in a Bible group some teenagers that ask really intelligent questions. And I love it working with these teenagers because they ask you questions that is, how will I put it? Thought provoking thought provoking questions that you have to think and think and think. And when you want to alter a word, you have to think very careful. If you don't know the answer, you tell them you don't know the answer. Then if you're led by the Spirit, you tell them the truth, raw as it is. No sugar coating. These are the kind of people I work with. With this, I will say, welcome to this video. So, someone will ask, why didn't they make a new kind of Bible for our times? We do read about the stories of the Israelites, Moses, Jacob, Abraham, and the rest of it. How does it apply to us, my dear? If you are a Christian, you're automatically an Israelite. If you want to doubt me, write your what? Your question. We learn every day. God called Abraham out from his land to show him a place where he will start up again. God wants to make from Abraham a people of his own. And now, with the stubbornness of the Israelites, the gospel was what? Taken to the world, to the Gentiles. You and I had the grace to hear the word of God because of what? The stubbornness of the Israelites. But you should also know the Israelites won't be forever stubborn. A time will come when they will wake up from their slumber. And that is why I joined St. Paul to tell you today, if you hear God's voice, do not harden your heart, because God required a particular number of the Gentiles to come over to him. And because the Israelites will not, they will not be forever in, how will I say, stubborn. They will not be stubborn forever. A time will come when they will have a change of heart and turn around and look for God. I am appealing to everybody today. If you hear God's voice, do not harden your heart. Now, back to the verse I read. God here is saying that his children, the Israelites, saw the dazzling light of his presence and the miracles he performed in Egypt and in the wilderness. Now, that is why I say the Bible is evergreen. For people asking, should they write another type of Bible for our generation? No, this Bible fits to our generation. The Bible is evergreen. This Bible, we will read it until the end of time, until when that trumpet will blow and Jesus Christ will come in his glory. You and I will be reading this Bible. Now, let me break this down for you. You that is reading it today. You were also brought out from Egypt. Your Egypt is your time of troubles. Your Egypt is when you were in darkness. Your Egypt is when you were an unbeliever. Your Egypt is when you are surrounded by so many enemies. And God say, they have seen the dazzling light of his presence, meaning you went to God, you went to his to the gathering of brethren, you identified yourself as a Christian. That is you going to the gathering of brethren. You felt the presence of God. Immediately you identify yourself as a Christian and went to the gathering of brethren. So you saw the way they prayed, you saw the way they sing, you saw the way they read the word of God, and you felt the presence of God. That is the presence of God for you. That is that Egypt that God is talking about. He's not talking about the Egypt, that Egypt of the history that happened so many thousand years before the coming of Christ. No, I am talking to you. I am talking to you, trying to break it down so that you will understand the Egypt that you are reading about. You're reading about your own Egypt because God is talking to your soul. God is talking to your spirit. He said, they have seen the dazzling light of my presence, meaning you felt him. You know there is God in this place. You know that God existed. You know there is something like God. You know that there is power above all power. In short, you felt something. There is a strong conviction in your heart that God exists, and you choose to identify yourself at the gathering of the brethren to say that you are a Christian, or some people will say a good Christian, in quote, a born again Christian. So let me continue. Here, God now say, and I performed, uh, they have seen the dazzling light of my presence and the miracles that I performed in Egypt and in the wilderness. I have already listed your Egypt problems and the rest of them. Then in the wilderness, should I open what it means? In the wilderness, your lack. You were fighting to be seen by people. You were looking for promotion. You were hungry. You know, you can hardly feed yourself and the members of your family. You are always seen as somebody who has, who has nothing, somebody who is a problem, a burden to others. Nobody wants to identify with you because they see you as a burden. You are, when they call your name, they see suffering. That is your wilderness, the wilderness of lack, wilderness of hardship, wilderness of problem, wilderness of disappointments, of hatred, of lack of love, of marriage problem. All those life's problems that when they hit you from left and right, you'll be wondering what is going on. Why are people happy and you're not happy? Why are things moving for people and it's not moving for you? This and more are your wilderness. So let me continue. He now said, but they have tried my patience over and over again and have refused to obey me. Now listen, God is not talking to the unbelievers here. God is talking to you and me. You that believed in God. You that accepted him. You that know that there is something, a being like God. You that know that he is all powerful. You that have tasted his power. You that have tasted his goodness. You that have seen his miracles. You that have seen his God in action. But still, it comes to a time in your life, you decided to take a break. You decided to tell God, stay there. When I'm ready for you, I'll come back again. You decided to have it your way. you see God as an authoritative God. The God who doesn't want to allow you to exercise your human rights. The God who has always, I have the authority. I must say something to you, and you must understand that you have no choice than to do it. That God who said that He's let your yes be yes and let your no be no. Some people see it as the God who is forcing Himself on people, whose eyes are always on people's business. Really? Come to think of that. Really? Brother, sister, this verse, read it again. Read it again and again. You will understand that this verse is talking to you and I. This verse is not even talking to the unbelievers. Let me tell you again. Read chapter Numbers chapter 14 verse 22. Please read the verse again and again and again. You understand that God is talking to you. God is talking to you. The God that sees what you do in the secret. The God that knows how you disobey Him. The God that knows that you coming to church and dancing more than everybody, and when it's time to give the offering, you push everybody aside because you're dancing with that your money, and you move, you show everybody that you love God. You tie your hair, you do this, you prefer in showing through your outward appearance that why you love God. God is saying today, this hour, really, that He is the God that sees all things, that you are not what you put out there. God is saying that why you are busy maintaining your image and your outward appearance, that you never care to also maintain your inner appearance. God is asking you, why do you derive joy in disobeying Him? Why do you derive joy in seeking for others people's validation? Why do you derive joy in seeking for people's opinion? Why do you derive joy in obeying the laws of man? But when it comes to obeying His laws, you will moderate it like a teacher who is correcting the assignment or the examination papers of his students. God is speaking to us through this verse today. God is telling us that what we project outside for people to see is not actually who we are. And that is why we are warned in the book of James against judging people according to the way they look to us. That it is only God who sees what is inside us. And that is why God will always be the only true judge. So God is telling you, God is asking you, Christians, that you should do things the way it is supposed to be done. Here in this chapter, in this verse, He was talking to you and me. He was not talking to the unbelievers. He was addressing us. He was telling us that we know what He's capable of doing, that we know His powers. We know that He has no limit. We know that distance is no barrier to Him. We know that His eyes can see even in darkness. We know that there is nothing hidden before God. That is why He's asking us, why do we disobey Him? Why do we derive joy in disobeying Him? Why do we strive our best to maintain outside what or what they call outward appearance. Why is it that we don't want to, you know, prepare our soul and spirit the way we take care of our what? Outward appearance? Read it again. Read that verse of the Bible again and again and pray with it and ask God to have mercy on you. Ask yourself if all the people who call themselves Christians are really Christians. Why is our world the way it is today? Remember what the Bible says, that when you bring a light, no matter how little it is, it will what? Radiate in the room. You will immediately see light. You'll be able to identify anything in that room because the light will come and the darkness will go away. Darkness has always been there, but there is no light coming out from the so-called people who call themselves Christians, because it is our light that will ward off, that will drive out the darkness in this world. God bless you.